Today we pay a call to the man you can't see. No, not that guy. Claude Rains as the Invisible Man. "1933's The Invisible Man was the first film based on the classic H.G. Wells novel published in 1897. Ironically, the same year as Wells' other classic horror film, The Island of Lost Souls, came out for Paramount, based on Wells' Island of Dr. Moreau. This film is part of Universal's classic horror. Carl Laemmle Jr. eventually tapped James Whale, who had great success with Frankenstein at Universal a few years prior. Whale, of course, also made Bride of Frankenstein in 1935, rounding out his classic horror trilogy. He apparently committed suicide at the age of 67 in 1957 as he was found drowned in his swimming pool. The subject of his life is covered in the 1998 film Gods and Monsters, starring Sir Ian McKellen and Brendan Fraser. Boris Karloff was supposedly the original choice to play the Invisible Man before the peerless Claude Rains was chosen. This was the first American film for Claude Rains, who plays the title character. Rains, of course, would go on to have an extraordinary career, appearing in several all-time classics such as Casablanca and The Adventures of Robin Hood, where he played the treacherous Prince John. Here, Rains' face is never seen until the final scene after his character's death. Rains' unmistakably classic voice is used to great effect, making Jack Griffin a very memorable character. The invisibility effects are still impressive today and were obviously cutting edge for its time. Rains was completely covered in black velvet, which was reportedly a nightmare for him, and was matted into the film, giving him the appearance of invisibility. Playing Jack's girlfriend, Flora, is the lovely Gloria Stewart. She'd previously worked in Wales' film The Old Dark House, starring Boris Karloff. Her biggest claim to fame is probably co-starring in a pair of Shirley Temple films, Poor Little Rich Girl and Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. She also starred opposite Don Amici in the Ritz Brothers comedy version of The Three Musketeers. Of course, an entire new generation came to discover her as Old Rose in James Cameron's Oscar-winning Titanic. Around the same time, she made a cameo in the infamous Batman and Robin as Batgirl's mother Peg, in a picture belonging to Alfred. She died in 2010 at the age of 100. Playing her father and Jack's boss, Dr. Cranley, is familiar character actor Henry Travers, whose greatest claim to fame is playing Clarence in the Christmas classic It's a Wonderful Life. He also appeared in the Abbott and Costello film The Naughty 90s as a riverboat owner. That's the film in which Bud and Lou do their classic Who's on First routine. As the film opens, Griffin, face wrapped in bandages, finds his way to a sleepy village seeking out peace and quiet as he struggles with trying to find a way to reverse his invisibility. He had experimented with a rare drug called monocaine that makes a person invisible, with the slight side effect of madness. After being irked by the innkeeper's wife, played by Una O'Connor, whom Whale later cast in Bride of Frankenstein from this performance, Griffin snaps, becoming a murderous lunatic. He finds his way to his old chemist colleague Kemp, played by William Harrigan. He basically forces Kemp to be his accomplice in his grand reign of terror. Kemp calls Dr. Cranley in desperation. Cranley arrives with Flora, who has been out of her mind with worry over Griffin's disappearance. It's touching that, despite his madness, Griffin remains as devoted to her as she is to him. I guess in Flora's case, love is truly blind. Ironically, Griffin never finds out that Kemp tried to put the moves on Gloria in his absence. Wonder how he would have taken that news. Kemp calls the police, causing Griffin to flee, but not before pronouncing his terrible sentence, promising to kill Kemp at 10 o'clock the following evening. Despite the best attempts of the chief detective, played by Dudley Diggs, Griffin keeps his word, murdering Kemp by sending his car over a cliff. There are several cameos from classic horror co-stars such as the great Dwight Fry, in probably his most normal role in a horror film as a reporter. Whale, of course, worked with him on Frankenstein, where he played Fritz, the Hunchback. John Carradine and Mary Gordon, who also appeared in so many of these, and also Forrester Harvey as the innkeeper, who appeared in The Wolfman as the queasy Mr. Twiddle. Harry Stubbs, who appeared in various films such as The Mummy's Hand and The Wolfman, playing the Invisible Man's first victim, a policeman who gets his head bashed in. And you have E. E. Clive as a constable who would later go on to play the Burgermeister in Bride of Frankenstein. It's also fun to see the exceptional choreography of the crowd moving in reaction to an invisible man pushing to get past them. Griffin's reign of terror is brought to an end when a farmer discovers him sleeping in his barn by hearing him snore. The police set the barn afire and shoot Griffin trying to escape through the only door. Flora goes to his bedside as his madness subsides and he concedes he dabbled in things that man was meant to leave alone. As he dies, the drug wears off, restoring him to visibility, allowing the audience to see Raines for the first and only time in the movie. Raines Griffin is a treat, a cackling madman who goes about causing mayhem simply because he can. If the film has any weakness, it may be that after his descent into madness, apart from keeping his pledge to kill Kemp, Griffin really has no grand plan for his world takeover. He mostly resorts to random chaos, like robbing a bank and giving the money to passers-by, and causing a train wreck, killing hundreds. But this isn't really a weakness, it's his madness. Not unlike the Joker, Griffin merely wants to watch the world burn. He's a force of nature that lives to prove how weak and helpless the world at large is before him, and takes great satisfaction by laughing at their failure to oppose him. After this film, despite Griffin's death, the Invisible Man series continued to thrive. In the 1940 sequel, The Invisible Man Returns, classic horror veteran Vincent Price donned the bandages after being injected with the serum by Griffin's brother and fellow chemist. Price also made a cameo at the end of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein as the Invisible Man. With the success of that film, Universal wasted no time in teaming the character up with the popular duo in Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man. The series continued on with various offshoots such as the more humorous The Invisible Woman and the World War II-themed The Invisible Agent, before returning to the more conventional The Invisible Man's Revenge. The Invisible Man is an enduring classic with a great blend of horror, dark humor, and impressive special effects. It remains a must-see in any classic horror movie marathon. I'm giving The Invisible Man 5 stars out of 5. This is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.